Hi, and welcome to Module 1. This is a really short module, and so I'm going to keep this really short. This module is really just a chance for me to share, kind of go over the course really quickly. So let me just come here in the module. If we come through here, part of this module is you should have already read and watched all the videos in this welcome course introduction begin here. Now, one thing that I should tell you, and I didn't say it in my course tour, which I should have, is if you aren't familiar with Canvas, one thing that's nice is you can click up here in this. If you click that, it will shrink up whatever module you have there. And then what happens is those modules will remain shrunk so that if you leave and you go somewhere else, go to discussions, and you come back, it'll be open when you first pop on, but it will automatically close it back up and take you to where you were last. And so it'll take you right back to where you were. So it kind of puts you back in the modules where you were. So once you finish a module, I always recommend you minimize it. And that way you're not kind of having to scroll down to what you want. Now, all this is not visible to you that I'm scrolling through because that's material that I have to organize. That won't all go there. It's just all the material that's potentially there for you. Now, you should go through all this. You should go over the syllabus, things like that. Basically, this module is really simple. You watch this video. There's a list of the learning outcomes, which are just kind of what you're going to learn. And there's a checklist. The checklist is real simple. Watch this video, look at the outcomes and checklist, then go to the discussion board, introduce yourself to everybody else. And so if you come back in here and you go to Module 1, self-introductions, it'll ask you to introduce yourself. And so you go in there and you'll make a post and you'll say who you are, answer some questions, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then read through your classmates and comment on a couple of theirs, okay? Kind of get a chance to get to know everybody. And then you will take the Module 1 exam. The Module 1 exam is really an exam over the syllabus. And so you can, there's no time limit. You can look up the answers. I don't have a problem with that. That's part of the way this quiz works. And so you can look through and go back and look at the answers and do things like that. And when you're done, you submit it, and that's that. Now, I want to make a couple comments about both the discussion board and that. First of all, on the discussion board, I give you, kind of tell us about yourself, how long you've been here, where you're from, tell us about your family, hobbies, what experience you have with this topic, what do you hope to gain, things like that. Just kind of general questions, anything you kind of want to tell us. You don't have to answer all those questions. You can answer other questions. You can tell us about something else. That's fine. And then I have a few questions that are kind of for fun. I ask you to answer at least one of them, like what's your dream job? Why? What's the most unusual thing about you? I always say, if we're answering this, I always say the kind of weird thing about me is I actually don't have a sense of smell. I had an accident when I was 16 and lost it. I hit my head back here, fell off my bike, and I shook something loose. Yes, I can taste. It may be diminished, but I can still taste. I always say you don't get a body like this not tasting. And so I can taste, but I really can't smell. I can smell certain things very remotely. I can usually smell gasoline, like if I'm in a garage and a little gas has been expelled. I don't know why, but that's something that I've always been able to tell, even after I lost my sense of smell. Everything else is, but I can't tell much else. When my kids were little, and I'm about to have another little one, like when they poop their diapers, I could smell it if I got really, really close. Whereas other people would walk in the room and be like, whoa, that stinks. And I'd be like, really? And I'd be like, oh yeah, I guess it does. So I mean, that's kind of the one unusual thing about me. So if there's anything unusual about you, from a weird place, done weird things, have a strange family, well, that's all of us, then you can share that. And then the other one is if you could only eat one thing for the next year, what would it be? If you had to meet every single meal, the same thing, I might go with, cheese or something like that. But actually the one I used to say was I would go with the bread bowl, or not the bread bowl, the bowl meal at KFC, because it has like chicken, potatoes, corn, gravy. It's kind of like a little bowl they put everything in. And I used to think that's kind of the best cheat on that, because, you know, one day if you don't want anything else, you just eat the potatoes, and the next day you can just eat the chicken fingers that are cut up. So that's kind of my cheat win on that. Then make sure to introduce yourself and comment to 2 of the others. So that's kind of my answer to those. That way you kind of see what you're doing. You can also learn a little bit about me. And then the last thing is on the exam. If you come here to the exam is like 15 multiple choice questions, ask you things like, you know, how much is the final exam worth? So you should be able to look that up on the exam and tell us that. And then at the bottom, there's some questions like, if I were to need to call you, what would be the best number and when? You know, and I don't ever really expect to call you, but occasionally I maybe like one student a semester in one of my 5 or 6 classes, I'll have to call for some reason. You know, it's nice to have that information. The school, I can get it from the school, but sometimes, you know, people forget to update that. So if you put it there, then I can feel fairly good about that. And I also know, oh, I work nights, so then I know not to call you at 7 in the morning kind of thing. Although I know not to call most of you at 7 in the morning. Then it's like, why did you take introduction to public relations? How would you define public relations? Things like that. Those are questions. I just want you to give your best answer. I'm going to probably give you full credit on those regardless of your answer. I just kind of want to see what people say, kind of get a feel for the class. It gives me a chance to do that. And it's a nice way to kind of introduce the course. It takes a little time. There's no rush. There's no time limit on that. So take maybe some time, take an hour if you need to look up answers and kind of think about how you would do it, write those well, be thoughtful in those. That might be how I would grade it, is if you write something kind of 3 sentences that make no sense and lack punctuation, I'll grade it down. But if it makes sense and you know, is thoughtful, you know, I'll give you full credit.